lot of crisis in my life. Some days I have good days, some days I don't, and at times I really feel depressed, and sometimes I don't want to do anything. I just like to sleep or hang out and listen to music, but not really engage myself in social activities or be with people. And the sad thing about that is that I'm starting to feel better about myself because I'm transitioning. I'm transgender, and I'm much happier now as a transgender woman, but I still struggle with depression, and it has nothing to do with the hormones that I take in my hormone replacement therapy regimen. I have depression. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I have inherited it from my family, as my mom had manic depression and my dad had depression, and he eventually committed suicide because of it. So I've had some difficult struggles, and I have a son who's autistic, and he also has bouts with depression. So it's throughout our family heritage, our family line, I should say, heredity. But I'm not making excuses for that. And I also attribute my depression to not working and being an active part of society. I've been relegated to being home now most of the time, and I try my best to occupy myself by doing what I consider healthy activities. And for me, my real source of social engagement, aside from my temporary outings at social groups, like the transgender support group meetings I go to on Wednesdays, or an occasional friend stopping by, I'm pretty much alone. And I've had times where I was suicidal and wanted to end my life and my pain. And the sad irony about it is that I'm very happy with my transition. So it has nothing to do with that. But what it has to do with my brain chemistry and being tossed aside when I lost my job. It affected me when I had a nervous breakdown. And I was in several hospitals over a dozen times. And I've had 911 calls from third parties when I was on telephone and I mentioned that I wanted to commit suicide. People reacted to that and they were concerned. And the police came to my house and took me to the hospital. And it's not a pleasant thing, but I don't understand why I fight depression on a daily basis. It's just part of what I'm going through. And sometimes I feel really down and I have bad days and I just don't want to do anything. And other days I'm okay and I get out and I try to do what I can. I do see a therapist and I have a psychiatrist. And I think another source of my depression is that I wanted to do gender reassignment surgery to enhance my transition because I identify as a transsexual woman, but my psychiatrist and therapist obviously won't consent to write letters on my behalf, and I guess in a way I can understand their position that they're taking because of my depression, and because the operation is a final act and you can't go back. But I believe in my heart that I've been a woman all my life, and surgery would um, reinforce the need that I have in my heart to be a complete woman. Without surgery, I will never be complete, and that also depresses me. So I'm in a catch-22 situation in regard to that. And my work situation doesn't look so good either. I've been out of work about 2.5 years now, and my prospects of finding employment don't look so good. I've had a couple of agencies call me, but I'm not going to work as my former self, where I was presenting as a male. I refuse to do that. That would be the end all, and I would just say I've had it, I quit. I don't want to be here anymore. So I certainly don't want to even think of that option, because that is not on the table. But I have some struggles with my transition. As you can obviously see when I speak, my voice is still male, and I don't know how to change it. I watch videos on YouTube because I can't afford the voice lessons. I've tried it, but it's too expensive, and I am on a budget because I only make my Social Security and long-term disability income, and I have many expenses, including my mortgage. And that's another issue that causes me great depression, is that I've fallen behind on my mortgage, and it's very hard. So I try to keep my mind occupied and busy, and one thing I started to do was to become more active on Facebook and create groups and try to involve members within the groups. And I've created a few transgender related groups, and I recently created some fashion related groups. One is called Fashionista, one is called Pretty in Pink, and one is called Purple Passion. And the transgender related groups that I created are the Transgender Girls Club, transgender girls, transgender women and girls of the world, and Chicken Soup for the Transgender Soul. And I created a group for autism, since my son is autistic, called I Know and Love Someone with Autism. And I created a group called Happiness. I'm sorry, not Happiness, Friendship. I created a group called Friendship. The problem is that I spread myself too thin when I create these groups, because I can't update my group pages. And the other problem is that I add people into the group and they may not necessarily want to be a part of the group, and for that I apologize. I'm just trying to bring people together into a common group, but the other problem is that if they have their notifications on Facebook, they are probably getting bombarded by my posts. So I don't know what to do anymore. I feel the need to do it but at the same time I don't want to be a nuisance. And I just find myself not knowing what to do anymore. I get depressed. I cry a lot about my situation. And I'm very emotional, and I miss my son very much. Because he goes away to school and I don't see him that often. And I just feel very sad in my life. I don't have, anything working out the way I wish it could. And it causes me great sadness. I didn't ask to be this way, and one thing I don't understand is why people don't accept me or understand why I am the way I am. I can't help it, I don't even know sometimes why I have struggled my whole life with my gender. I don't understand it. I really don't. And I can't change who I am as a person. The feelings I have go really deep. I mean, I'm talking about my feelings as early as my childhood. Age 3 was my earliest recollections of knowing I was different. And it isn't something that many people understand because it's not very common. But it doesn't mean that people aren't affected by it. And I think that ignorance is not helping the matter. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are transgender like myself, who don't have the love and support of their family, and they lose their friends in many cases, and unfortunately they commit suicide, and I've been there, where I've contemplated suicide because I don't feel happy when I'm going through a deep depression. Depression is painful, and it hurts, and you just feel like you don't want to do anything in your life, and it's hard, and I have a tough time. Every day I go through the same nonsense, and I just sometimes say, I had it, and I just want to find peace in my life, and find that my life has meaning and value, and sometimes I don't think it does, but I have a son who needs me, and I'm wanting desperately to be there for him and help him. And I just wonder why things are so complicated in our lives, and why we can't enjoy life for what it is. When I was working, I didn't get to spend time with my son the way I wanted to. And I lost a lot of my son's childhood because of it. And you don't get things like that back, and people are trapped in that sense where they aren't able to live a quality life because they're stressed. And I just couldn't take that stress anymore in my life. And I wound up having an emotional breakdown. And when I came out in my working days, when I was beginning my transition, I was very emotional about it and very unsure of what to do, what direction to go in. But in my heart, I always knew what I had to do. And I pushed it off. I pushed it off, my desire and need to transition from male to female. But every time something got in the way and I just couldn't address that aspect of my life. Uh, and having a son that I am a father of, certainly I respect my relationship with my son, and I love my son with all my heart and soul. But I can't be perfect, and I never said I would be. It's impossible. Perfection is not attainable. And when you struggle with your self-esteem and you're struggling with depression and gender issues, it winds up causing you to have a low self-worth. And you just get caught up in this negativity, and you just start to feel like you're not even worthy of living, and you'd be probably better off if you weren't. And I've gone through those battles, and I've faced those challenges, and it's not easy, but I've had caring family and people in my life who value me and want to help me in any way they can, which I am greatly appreciative of, but it doesn't ease my pain and loneliness in the fact that I don't have a very active social life. I'm married with my wife, and I have my son, but he's away at his special needs school. So our family is not really together. We're apart. And even though I'm home with my wife, we have like separate relationships. What I mean is we live separate in the same household, which weighs on me and makes me feel very guilty. And I just don't know what to do anymore. I just sometimes question my meaning for existence and what it is that I'm here for, and why do I have to fight this battle which takes over and consumes me, and it is not something that is a finite thing. It's a never-ending situation when you struggle with your gender and you struggle with depression. It just causes a great deal of emotional pain, and I'm going through that, and it's not healthy to realize that you don't fit in with people and that you're not valued as a person. How can you feel if somebody tells you that you're not even worthy of living and holding a job down? What would that do to someone's self-esteem? It would practically diminish every part of who you are and make you feel like you're nothing. And that is very unfair. And I think people in general are good people, but they don't understand what transgender people live with and go through. And it's a very hard life, and you feel very guilty, and that you have to try to please people and make them understand, and it just makes me very sad and upset, and that affects my mental outlook and my well-being. But I'm running out of steam. I'm tired. I need sleep. I was in New Jersey, drove home. It was a long ride, trying to help another transgender girl who's struggling with depression and was contemplating suicide. So I had a very emotional day, and I was trying to be strong for her, yet my sense of strength is not completely built, and I just was very frustrated with not being able to help my friend as best as I could have, but I was there to listen to her and to lend this helping hand. Plus, I treated her for the night and even got her a couple of dresses for her since she doesn't have any and she wanted, so I try. I'm not perfect, but I try to do nice things when I can. But I'm ready to fall asleep. So I'm gonna say goodbye. Emily, take care. I love you guys. Bye.